everyone.
We're here on day 2 of Identity Week America. I'm joined now by Andy Smith, who's Director of Industry and Innovation at SITA. You've just come off the stage. How was your presentation?
Brilliant, very well received. The nicest thing was I was actually moderating a panel with our partner Indicio, our head of technology Mike Zurich, and most importantly I think our customer, the Immigration Director Andrew Hu of the Aruban government, where they were superb in telling their experiences of how we got to deliver the world's first digital crossing of an international border using digital identity. Very useful, some great questions from the audience as well. So it's been a fantastic end to our couple of days here at Identity Week.
And in your normal job, how are you working with governments, travel partners to deliver really safety across the travel industry?
Well, SITA's been involved in aviation for 75 years, and we've been involved in borders and government, border management systems and government relations for nearly 3 decades, starting with Australia. We're all about providing those services, systems and solutions that deliver operational efficiency, safety, security, and from my point of view, it's all about the passenger. Getting the passenger from A to B safely, securely, and now, and ever increasingly, seamlessly. Avoiding these friction points, avoiding these touch points, as we've demonstrated in Aruba, a beautiful arrival experience to start spending money on the beach and spend as little time in the airport and as much time in your hotel with a rum cocktail.
And most international airports these days have the seamless experience. Are there any friction points, or are we really delivering a seamless experience with our biometrics?
There's always friction, and you're right to raise this. Airports have spent a lot of money, particularly on improving the outbound experience using biometrics, solutions like SITA's Smart Puff, where we've biometrically enabled nearly 5,000 touch points in, I think it's 43 airports, to make that outbound experience very pleasurable. The challenge I would put to industry is that's people leaving the country. We need to equally look at how do we make it an attractive experience for people coming to our country. So instead of making the arrival experience this dingy immigration hall, potentially with some immigration officer who's just stamping passports, let's make that a welcoming experience. Let's make it as enjoyable as the outbound experience and give tourists and travellers a great welcome to our country, and that's what Aruba is doing with its Happy One Pass with SITA as its partner.
And customers really want to know that their data is secure. That's part of the experience, isn't it? Do they have ownership of their data? Absolutely.
Some would argue even more ownership than they do with their physical passport. Now, remember, the physical passport is a relationship between governments. Believe it or not, and most people don't realise this, you don't own your passport. Your passport is owned by, in my case, His Majesty's government. That's who owns it. Right? So I'm the custodian of that data. Now, when we create a DTC on our phone, I become the owner of that data. Right? It might have been from the passport and created in a very secure and safe way. But what we're enabling with the technology and with our partners like Indicio is things such as what's known as selective disclosure. So the ability for me to decide what information I share with whom. That's in my power. Now, when I hand over my passport to you, you've got all my passport, all my travel history, stamps, personal information, identifying marks, that's all in there. Right? If you're a hotelier, you can copy that. Indeed, some authorities say you have to do that. Whereas with selective disclosure, I can share just the information I think you need to, for instance, prove I'm over 21.
How do you strike the right balance, though, with travel industries need a lot of data to know who you are, and so do governments who are sharing data between them. How do you secure the data in that respect?
Yeah, and it's an ongoing challenge because we all want to be safe and we want to be secure. And the only way governments can really ensure that is by getting data on who's coming and then being able to risk assess it, wash it against watch lists, international and domestic, and then hopefully pre-clear you. Remember, the vast majority of travellers are innocent, low risk, no harm, and just want to have a nice trip. It's those few needles in the haystack that we've got to find. So I think our job, working with industry, is to get the right information to the right individuals, be they stakeholders or authorities, so they can make these informed decisions and deliver that better service for the vast majority of innocent travelling public.
Are we going to move away from physical ID on the day of travel? This is another element that we're all discussing at Identity Week. You know, is digital identity taking over and replacing physical ID?
I think it's augmenting. So it's going to be a long time before you can leave your passport at home or not get issued with a physical passport. It's a long time. I would say decades personally. But are we going to be able to treat it like many of us do with credit cards now? So I don't know about you, but I don't take my credit cards with me. I use my phone. I use that to pay for things. That's what I see passports becoming, is it resides on your phone, you use your face as the biometric to enable it, and your passport should stay in your bag. You only get it out in an emergency, if something goes wrong with the technology, or indeed if an officer or an authority wants to do some secondary processing, because they have some concerns. That's when you'd bring it out. But most of the time, it should sit there. So for instance, if you're walking up, bags, child, stroller, whatever it might be, instead of having to juggle those people, those individuals in your bags, you could just use your face rather than having to try and find your passport at the bottom of your purse, for example.
Lastly, we've covered lots of technologies, AI, biometrics, digital identity. How are you using AI in the rest of the travel experience, you know, with baggage handling, flight information, which is automated? Is that part of the demands for travel?
It is. AI is becoming an ever-increasing and useful tool in the whole travel continuum. Whether it's predicting movements of passengers through an airport, looking at patterns of behaviour, weather patterns, how that impacts on arrivals and whether people are going to be late for their flights. It's not an area of particular specialism for me, but it's one of those tools where if we can use it to help with that pre-clearance, if we can use it to help optimize resource at primary lines, and again, give that better, seamless experience. I'm a big advocate for it, but I'm also a huge advocate for human in the loop. And we should never have machines make the decision. They should enable humans to make better, quicker, informed decisions.
We still need these border control staff at the front line, don't we?
Always. Because there's always going to be exceptions. And if there's any problems, you want somebody to go to. So I don't see we'll ever have a personless airport anytime soon.
Thank you, Andy, for speaking with me today.
Thank you, Evie.
Perfect.